Hi there everybody, welcome to Mirror World News. Now, you finished your first draft, and you put it away for a month, and now you're going to start your second draft. But what is a second draft? What do you need to do? We're going to talk about that in this episode. Stay tuned. Hi there everybody, welcome to Mirror World News. I'm here as usual with Justine Dowsett, CEO and publisher with Mirror World Publishing. And today we're going to be talking about second drafts. So first and foremost, what is the second draft?
So you remember the first draft, you finished it, you've put it away, you've left it for maybe, 2 weeks to a month. I let it stew. When you come back to it with a fresh set of eyes and you start working on it again, that's your second draft.
Don't panic.
It is the part before you seek outside assistance, before you let anyone else see it. It's your first rewrite.
Right. So all those things that you could have gone back and been like, oh, I could change this, I could change this, I could change this, and what we told you not to?
Now you can!
Now is when you do it!
Yeah.
Now is when you can do it. All right, so what is the first thing you do when you're ready to start working on the second draft besides don't panic?
Read it.
Okay, thank you very much for coming out tonight.
You want to read it, you want to take notes as you go, and you make small changes if you'd like as you're going, if you notice anything. Don't leave your major changes to the end, take notes for those. Read it out loud if that helps you. Yeah. You can get a computer program to read it out loud to you, or a friend. But yeah, read it out loud so you can hear the flow of the sentences and really fix them as you go.
Yeah, that's something that I found myself too whenever I'm doing editing, especially dialogue. You read it out loud, and sometimes you're like, hey, what did I just say? And then you got to go back and read. Those are great triggers right there.
Yes,
yeah. Okay, so what are you looking for in a first draft?
In a second draft.
Wow.
Yes. You are looking.
I'll fix that on the second draft.
You're looking for any changes that need to be made, anything whatsoever. So anything you notice that you want to make stronger, that you want to maybe tone down, that you want to cut out, that you want to improve. Anytime you've not done enough description, you want to make something more visual. Any inconsistencies in your plot, your character, your settings, your pacing. If there's parts that move too quickly or not quickly enough. If you had too much exposition, not enough exposition. You're looking for any errors, basically. Anything you can fix.
Sometimes it's really, really hard because when you read through it, you say, oh, but this, I like this, or I like this. Or other times it's really bad in another way because you're like, no, I'm going to chop this out, chop this out, and chop this out. What are some advice that you would give to people to like how to improve their manuscript as opposed to just go on a chopping spree or not change anything?
So you want to focus on certain key points on your second draft. And remember, there are third drafts and fourth drafts. You don't need to do it all in one go.
Yeah.
But focus on improving your opening. We've talked about that so many times. But your opening, you're going to go over and over and over that because that's the sample you're going to end up sending off to publishers and agents. And that's the part that hooks your reader into reading the rest of your book. So it needs to be the best it can be. So focus on improving that opening, making it as engaging as possible, starting where the story starts. Now, when you first write your first draft, you might have meandered into where the story starts to get some background. You can usually cut that stuff. Start where your story starts. You're going to look for awkward sentences. So when you're reading it out loud, things that just don't sound right, or verbs might be out of order, stuff like that. You're going to look for passive voice. Anytime you're like, he was covered by the blanket. Like, it's just very passive. So, that sort of thing. Your voice of your narrator is important. So make sure you have a strong voice and that it's consistent throughout the book. Anytime, we mentioned before, if you have a weak description, if you need to describe something more clearly or explain something better.
Point of view.
There's so many things. Also, any places you can cut out extra details or wordy sentences or run-on sentences, things that you can cut down. And also consider your foreshadowing and your symbolism, which we talked about last week.
Okay. So always make sure too, whenever you're going through, if you have a moment where you're worried about whether it's good or I think you should keep it, but maybe I shouldn't keep it or whatever, my advice would be keep it, go around on the third draft, see if it still makes sense.
Highlight it.
Yeah.
Just
make in
Word
anyway.
Yeah.
You could just highlight it. Highlight whole sections.
Put a comment next to it that says, question mark. Like, I don't know, I may keep this, I may not. Don't be afraid to write all over it. This is what you're editing. That's what you're doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, should they be worried about changing too much or not enough? Or
No, you have your old copy. You've saved that separately. You can always
Save it.
go. Yes.
Save your original.
Yes, you can always go back and look at that. And keep in mind, the more you rewrite something, it's generally going to get better, not worse. Your skills improve. You know, the only thing you need to be wary of is later on when you take it to critique groups, not to lose your own voice in the suggestions of other people. But generally speaking, as you rewrite, it gets better. You have your old copy. You have the chance to do a third draft later if this doesn't work out or some changes you don't like. You can change them again.
Yep.
So, you know, don't worry about that. Just work at it.
Right. And remember, it's your manuscript. You're writing it. No matter what advice is given to you, if you see something and you're diehard about, you love it, this is the greatest thing that you've ever written and you absolutely adore it. Even if other people, like, listen to other people's suggestions about how to possibly make it better. But in the end, it is your manuscript.
It's also very important at this phase. You're only in your second draft. I wouldn't show it to anybody yet because you don't want that outside voice.
Right.
You don't want critique yet. You're not ready for critique. You haven't built up your tough skin. You're just working on it on your own and kind of molding that clay that you've put down in the first draft.
Yeah, exactly. And if you show your second draft to someone, guaranteed the first thing they're going to say is, "Oh, you spelled displeased wrong."
Yeah,
oh,
like
there should be a
things.
comma here. Oh, you need an
And that's not what you're looking for at this
no,
point.
You're not looking for that kind of stuff yet because that kind of stuff comes much, much later, and that completely derails your self-confidence when you get like little tiny nitpicky
And that
comments.
sentence that has those nitpicky things wrong with it, that sentence might get deleted or rewritten entirely before it matters. So changing that little verb or that comma mistake's not going to matter in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah. Now, once you're done with your second draft, you're the only one who's looked at it. You've gone through, you think you're good, you're going to go on to a third draft, but what comes after the second draft immediately?
Okay, so you have a decision to make now. You're probably going to let that second draft sit the same way you let your first draft sit. But at that point, you have to say, okay, have I done everything I can on this to make it the best I can be without seeking outside help? Or do I need to go at it again? If you need to go at it again, that's fine. Do a third draft, do a fourth draft, the fifth draft, whatever you need to do.
There's no limit.
There's no limit to the amount of drafts that you can do. Once you feel that you've done all that you personally can do without seeking outside help, that's when you want to give it to someone else to read over, a beta reader, a writer's critique group, an editor, just a family friend, it doesn't matter.
Somebody who's going to give you honest
feedback.
Yeah. Constructive feedback, too.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, excellent. So, again, remember, write as many drafts as you need to do. Now, a piece of advice that we get for all the time in screenwriting is one of the things that we're told is make sure to give yourself a target date. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck in draft mode forever. Do you think that is something similar with manuscript writing?
I think that it's always beneficial when working on any project to give yourself goals and deadlines and to break it down into pieces so you don't just feel overwhelmed or like you're never going to get to a finish line. But when you get to that deadline, instead of saying, oh, that's it, it's a deadline, that's more of a chance to reevaluate where am I at, where am I going now, what's my next goal.
Yeah, because you don't want to be stuck in just development forever because you'll never get out of it. So always give yourself, even by like, say for example, in 3 months while I'm working on my second draft, I'm going to check in with myself and make sure, 1, I'm still working on it.
Yes.
And 2, I actually am actively looking into it and still working on it, and it still has the same passion inside of me as it did originally. I haven't changed it from its original, just to keep an eye on yourself, because otherwise...
Yeah, no, it's true. Because you're only really beholden to yourself. It's not like any other project where you might have a boss or a team. This is just you. So yeah, you should probably keep on top of your own scheduling.
And remember, you're not writing for your bookshelf. You're writing for everyone else's. So, thank you very much, Justine, for coming in and letting us know some more about second drafts. And stay tuned. We're going to have more videos coming up for you. And hit the like and subscribe button somewhere at the bottom. Anyway, thank you very much. And from Mirror World News and myself and
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.